Hey, well, hello everyone. This is Dr. Scott Uhall coming at you for another Healthy Habits virtual coffee chat. I appreciate you getting online today and get some good information for you. We're actually going to start a new series today. It's called Managing Lifestyle Habits and Preventing Chronic Disease. And there's a lot of that chronic disease going around. So let's get after it a little bit. Let me change my slide. There we go. But again, welcome to Coffee Chat. Today we're going to talk about chronic disease, what causes chronic disease. And then we're also going to talk about how behavioral health, you can implement that on your own to retard, delay, or even prevent some of this chronic disease. So enjoy our quarter hour of Wellness Power. I want to say thanks again to the virtual Coffee Chat sponsor, Kangaroo Coffee, supporting us. It's a nice warm day out today, so go get yourself some iced coffee if you can. Now again, real quick, a little differentiation between a medical doctor and a doctor of osteopathy and myself, a PhD. Medical doctors, MDs and DOs, they prescribe medicine. They have you come to their office for office visits. They bill insurance and all that to try to help keep you healthy and keep these diseases from getting the best of you. Where I, on the other hand, my doctor of philosophy, I use research. I look into academics to see what's best plan of action for people to improve their health. And I use behavior change as my paintbrush and canvas to help people improve their health. But we're both trying to help everyone be well and have a great quality of life. We just go about it a little different. So with that, always have the disclaimer. Again, if you haven't had your annual physical, if you haven't talked to your doctor, your medical doctor in quite some time, I would encourage you to do that so that if any underlying condition can be identified through blood work or through that annual exam, like I mentioned, they can identify that and help you manage your health, again, using pharmaceutical medicines and then tertiary protocols that medicine does. But again, all in all, get that annual physical. And if you're on the healthcare plan here at Phil Long, you can get all of that done for free, no charge, through our on-site medical clinics that are managed by the Care Here group. So with that, let's get into some chronic disease and see what that's all about. Well, what is chronic disease? Well, first of all, that's not a medical term. There's not a line item that you can bill for chronic disease, but it's kind of a generic term. And chronic disease is any of a number of different ailments that take years to develop or to manifest themselves. And that's different from an acute illness like the flu or getting COVID, heaven forbid, or a car accident. Acute means immediate, chronic means long-term developing. So these chronic diseases take years to develop, but there's a lot of behavioral influences that help to manifest this chronic disease. And they can be for better or they can be for worse. It's really truly dependent on the behavior choices that we make. Now, there are three things that influence disease. There's genetics, there's environmental factors, and then there's lifestyle factors. And the reality is with chronic disease, lifestyle factors play a significant, a major portion as to whether you're going to get these particular maladies or not. And lifestyle factors that influence chronic disease include nutrition. Again, we can eat well, we can eat fast food, we can eat plant-based diets. We've already talked about that in a prior chat. Your body composition, again, if you have a lot of extra body composition on your body fat, that can influence your health in a negative fashion. If you have a healthy body comp, that can influence your health in a positive fashion. How physically fit you are. I mean, it really is good to get out and walk around the neighborhood, even if that's all you do, because your physical fitness dramatically, again, influences the likelihood of getting a chronic disease or not. We've talked about stress, eustress, good stress versus distress, which is harmful stress. How we react to that, again, influences this chronic disease concept we're talking about today. We've mentioned sleep in the past, and again, getting your alpha, your beta, your gamma, your delta, and then your REM sleep, which is what helps your brain refocus, gets rid of that brain fog that we talked about. But if you're not getting good sleep because you might be drinking, you might be stressed from work, things are on your mind, you might even be using medication to help you sleep. Those aren't really the best ways to help you get good quality sleep. But we can look over that again. Contact me if you'd like some ideas on good sleep. And then in addition to that, tobacco use, we know tobacco is not good for us, but a lot of us use tobacco anyways. Although alcohol use isn't as significant as a chronic disease as tobacco use, it still is important because a lot of alcohol use leads us to acute liver problems like cirrhosis and a couple of the other things that slipping my mind at the moment, hepatitis and so on. But and then one other that we don't really talk about too much is that socioeconomic status. Basically, the wealthier you are, the easier you are going to be able to manage chronic diseases because you have better access to healthcare. You have access to maybe a healthcare provider. And in a lot of parts, especially in suburban areas or in the city, there's not a lot of good grocery stores. There's not access to healthcare. And so socioeconomic status plays a huge influence in a lot of what goes on in our world, especially with health, but you don't hear about it all that much. Well, what are chronic diseases, or what is chronic disease? You've heard of a lot of these. Cardiovascular diseases, and there's a wide variety of those. There's a thing called atherosclerosis, which leads to, we've talked about this, the hardening of the arteries. There's also a thing called arteriosclerosis. They're very similar in what they do, but they affect our organs a little bit differently. But heart attack and heart disease is the #1 cause of death in America right now. Stroke's the #4 cause of death. Hypertension depends on where you are, but it's related to about the #6 cause of death. There's many forms of cancer, breast cancer. In fact, we're going to talk a lot about that next week. You're going to see a lot of invitations going out. We've got the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Run, and we've got the Rockin' Ribbons Phil Long team. We want you to sign up for that. We've got an app that you can follow for next week's events, but we've got more coming up on that. But again, breast cancer is a chronic disease. Colon cancer, skin cancer, lung cancer. In fact, if people didn't use tobacco, most 85% of lung cancers would disappear, as well as a lot of COPD, which you see there on the right, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Kidney disease and liver disease, that kind of makes sense. A lot of the foods that we eat, things that we drink over time, they kind of gunk up our system and they damage our nephrons in our kidneys, and they damage our liver tissue also. And obesity is related to an awful lot of things. Again, it's a chronic disease. A lot of people that are having COVID issues, there's a high correlation between obesity and COVID mortality, and we're trying to understand that. Diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, and there's a number of other chronic diseases that they're out there, but they don't cause mortality to near the extreme that some of these that you see here do. Well, what causes chronic disease? Well, again, I mentioned these three components: genetics, environmental influences, and then lifestyle influences. And when you look at chronic diseases as a group, on average, genetics influences that health condition about 10% of the time, environment 25%, and then, like I said, lifestyle, you can see there, has a significant influence on that. So that's where I want to try to focus our conversation today, because we really do. The choices that we make influence our health tremendously. And imagine if we took our behaviors and quantified them into a mathematical equation that you can see below. So nutrition, plus our body composition, plus our fitness level, plus how we manage stress and the amount of sleep and quality sleep that we get, our tobacco use, our alcohol use, plus long periods of time. You know, I'm in my 50s now, and chronic disease has had a lot longer time to influence our health, or my health, than someone who's in their 30s. So all these together, and these are not set variables. These are living, floating variables. They influence. You know, we have good nutrition days, we have bad nutrition days, but each one of these variables, again, influences our quality of life. And over time, how these variables affect our health. If we eat a lot of red meat and saturated fat, we might have high cholesterol, and we have high LDL cholesterol, and that can lead up to causing heart health problems and so on. But all in all, these variables contribute to our health, and if we're doing things that are wrong, they eventually add up to symptoms that a medical doctor can diagnose. Again, high glucose might lead to diabetes. high LDL cholesterol might lead to heart disease. So all of this stuff, again, it's a fluid, that's a good word. It's a fluid dynamic that's going on that influences our health. And a lot of people, even though you take medication for maybe high blood pressure and your blood pressure is normal, I want to emphasize that that's artificially normal. It still behooves you. It's very important to, again, watch the salt in your diet and do everything that you can from a behavioral or a lifestyle perspective to help with your chronic disease issues. Because again, lifestyle is the number one proponent to these chronic disease issues. It's also the number one benefactor. If you live a little bit better, eat a little bit better, you can improve your hypertension or your cholesterol levels. So one thing I do want to point out is that most of us, we kind of survive. We don't thrive. I want us to thrive in the wellness. I want a great quality of life, not just survival mode. And again, many times young people have health habits that lead to chronic disease, but they're asymptomatic. It's just, they just haven't been on the earth long enough for these situations to show up. Now, I made reference to this a little bit earlier, but 7 of the 10 leading causes of death in America are chronic disease related. You see unintentional injuries there on the right, suicide on the right, influenza and pneumonia, that's up there at number 9. And you can see on the left, from a national standard, heart disease is the number 1 cause of death, followed by cancer, COPD, stroke, Alzheimer's, diabetes, and kidney disease. In Colorado, the numbers are a little bit different, but they're also very similar. Cancer's first, followed by heart disease, and then COPD, and those that you can see. And then even in El Paso County, which where Colorado Springs is, where I'm at, they're very much similar to the Colorado rates, but I do want to mention that suicide in El Paso County is the 5th leading cause of death, whereas it's the 10th leading cause of death nationally. And I think that has a lot to do with our high military element. We've got Mount Carmel Veterans Service Center that does wonderful, wonderful work with the military transitioning to veteran status, but they need a lot of help. There's so much need in that area. But God bless, kudos to Mount Carmel and what they do. There's a big need out there, and they're working hard to meet that. So you can kind of see some health status ranks from here in the world, America, as well as right here in El Paso County. Now, behavioral health to prevent chronic disease. Again, genetics and environment play a lot, but our lifestyle plays a lot. And really, I'd like to kind of hear from you. What triggers your emotions to making the choices that you make? Like, why do we like burger and fries instead of maybe a plant-based diet? Or we make time for fitness, or do we make time for watching TV? Tonight I'm going to make some time to watch the Denver Nuggets play. That's very important to me. But I also make time for fitness. You know, how do we manage stress? Do we drink stress away, or do we organize our day so that we have more time? You know, are you a workaholic where all you do is work and you're hitting it to the grindstone, you're busy all the time, and that's the expense of maybe friendships? Well, that influences our health, you know, in that equation that I talked about a little bit earlier. So, you know, what does trigger your eating? What influences? You know, you may or may not do something because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. You may overeat because you don't want to hurt whoever cooked dinner's feelings. And there's a lot that goes on that. So if you have a trigger that you want to share that influences your behavior, go ahead and share that with us. Now, I'd like to end up on maybe 10 healthy suggestions for behavior and how to make sure that chronic disease doesn't influence your long-term health. First of all, I think most important is to eat a nutritious and healthful diet. We've covered this, kind of eat raw foods if you can. Brightly colored foods give you your antioxidants. But like I mentioned earlier, there's always not the best place to get quality produce and everything just because of where you may live. Try to avoid that sedentary lifestyle. There's a lot of health risks that have been shown in the last few years about being sedentary. Get up and walk around if you can. Control your blood pressure and, your lipid panel. We're going to have a really nice conversation on cardiovascular health coming up in a couple weeks on that. And we'll talk about that in more detail. But really, physical activity and nutrition dramatically influence your blood levels and your lipid panels. So make sure that you get your annual physical done so that you can see where your blood panels are. You know, having elevated glucose, there's really not a symptom for that. Having high HDL or LDL. There's not really a symptom for that. So get your annual blood work done. Maintain a healthy body composition. And I'd like to share, we just finished a body wellness program, and you can see on the right some of the results. We measured 5 variables, and 4 of those variables were significantly different using some statistical analysis. And one I'd like to point out was the 20 people that finished the program, we actually lost 2.25 people of body composition. We lost almost 2.5 people from our group of 20 by improving our body composition. And I'd like to say thank you. That's an incredible accomplishment for the people in the body wellness program. But again, improving their body comp, and that's a great job. We all know we're not supposed to use tobacco, so I won't hit on that too hard. Again, a healthy blood pressure. There's really no symptoms for high blood pressure. But again, getting salt in your diet, eating processed foods, canned foods can really get a lot of sodium in your bloodstream without even knowing it. Managing your blood sugar levels. Again, watch out for those man-made carbs. We covered that in an earlier coffee chat. That can really make a spike in your blood sugar levels. As I mentioned before throughout the presentation here today, make sure you get that annual physical, because preventive care and wellness can really lead a long way to help subdue these chronic diseases. Manage stress effectively. I want eustress in your life, not distress. I want that healthy stress going on in your life. And then try your best to find a healthy and maintain a healthy relationship. I know that's coming from the single guy here, but human beings we're social beings. We need to be around other people, interact with those people. That helps with our stress and a lot of things in our life. It reduces depression, which comes about. It's a chronic disease. So try to model people that you look up to. If you have someone that you revel, say, wow, that person's got their stuff together, try to model what they do, and you too can be a superstar. So with that, I want to share a little bit. We've got some really cool coffee chats coming up. Next week, we're going to talk breast cancer awareness. We've actually got a special guest coming in from our Care Here group. They're going to talk about cancer and breast cancer. And I'd like to give a quick plug. Like I said, we're going to have a lot of stuff coming out, but the Susan G. Komen More Than Pink Walk is coming up on Sunday, September 27th. And that whole prior week, we want you to get out, take pictures, take selfies, get out and do a virtual walk with your friends and post that. And we've got a lot of good stuff. But join the Phil Long Rock and Ribbons team. And there's a smartphone app where you can track your steps. If you don't know what that's about, please contact me. But then after that, the 29th, we're talking cardiovascular health. October 6th, the risk factors related to obesity. The 13th of October, diabetes. And then on October 20th, our particular group, we've got a lot of vitamin deficiencies that are going on because some of us don't really eat all that well. But again, thank you for today's virtual coffee chat. We've got 15 chats I'd like to get to in our little chat room right now. Love to see you next week. And let's see what we have on. We've got some clean eating to detoxify. We can cover that. We've covered that before. Looking forward to people doing the walk. Pat, appreciate you always being involved. All right. But all in all, let's see if we've got something. Oh, hopefully someone can hear me now because I'm loud. Stress management, we're going to cover that. I think unmanaged stress is the single worst thing that you can do. But hey, even if you joined in late, I'm glad you do it. Don't want to waste food. That's a great comment. Remember that we talked about eating out. Maybe share a meal with someone, maybe get an appetizer. You can always prep your meals, and instead of overeating, maybe you can make that 2 meals and then bring in a meal for tomorrow. So that's a great comment. What else? All right, looks like a couple of people are going to join the Susan G. Komen, so I look forward for that. If you have any questions or you want to register for that, please get a hold of me or anyone in the corporate communications department. That's Gina Sacropani, Will Dillander, and Randy Gradishar. And I look forward to that. That's going to be fun here in the next couple weeks. So thanks, everyone. I had some great comments, and we'll see you at the next virtual coffee chat. And take care. God bless.